Warning, the video you are about to watch contains footage from another Dota-like game, Heroes of the Storm. If you would not like to watch the following footage, please avert your eyes. Alright, so I want to compare Valve's Dota 2 to Blizzard's Heroes of the Storm. I want this comparison to be as unbiased as possible, and this is a comparison coming from a Dota 2 player's perspective on Heroes of the Storm. I'm going to break down this comparison into 10 categories. The first category is visuals and interface, the second, hero selection, the third, heroes, the fourth, game mechanics, the fifth, abilities/items/skills, the sixth, laning, the seventh, jungle, the eighth, meta, the ninth, pro scene, and the 10th is final thoughts. So let's jump right into our first category, visuals and interface. The visuals for this game are slightly cartoony, but they're very crisp and well done. The characters are colorful and have great art, and they're easy to recognize. The current UI is very nice and clean, and it displays the objectives clearly and well. However, the minimap could use some work. It should be movable and adjustable because it often gets in the way, and the size can be too big. Blizzard has already been great about updating their UI. We've already seen one major overhaul, and hopefully we'll continue to see more UI updates throughout the early access alpha. Hero selection. We all know that Dota has well over 100 heroes. However, when we started the beta, we only had about 40. The Heroes of the Storm alpha currently has 28. Blizzard does need to work on a better scheduled release system for their heroes. At this current time, it's been a few weeks since we've seen our last heroes be released to the public. However, there have been 3 heroes teased in multiple ways at multiple events and online. In order to keep players interested, Blizzard needs to lower the time between hero releases. In Dota 2, you have 3 different main attributes: agility, strength, and intelligence. Oftentimes, this main stat can tell you what your hero will do. For example, an intelligence hero will usually focus on casting spells. In Heroes of the Storm, all heroes also have a similarly defined role. However, they are in 4 categories. The first of which is a warrior, which is similar to a tank or initiator. The second one being an assassin, which is your squishy DPS character, both melee and ranged. The third specialization is support, which usually is healing and utility. The fourth category, which isn't exactly mirrored in Dota 2, is the specialist category, and these are usually your more strange heroes. Sometimes they focus on killing the base, or they just play in some weird way that put them in that specialist category. As for which heroes you can choose, there is a weekly rotation of 7 heroes that rotate through every week. You can unlock more heroes with gold, which you get through playing games similar to experience. Some heroes are easier to unlock than others, and there is a very broad range of how difficult a hero is to unlock to how easy a hero is to unlock. You gain gold by playing games and completing daily quests. In the early levels, gold is very easy to come by as you level up quickly and gain gold quickly, but it slowly gets harder to obtain as you level up and then slowly gain your levels. Heroes. Both games' heroes are extremely unique. Dota 2 is really well recognized for having all of its heroes be unique and individual, and Heroes of the Storm does a good job at doing the same type of thing. You may have noticed there is some carryover between games. Think of Pudge in Dota 2, and you can see a very similar hero in Stitches in Heroes of the Storm. I want to take this opportunity to clarify many misconceptions about Stitches and Pudge and how they all came to be. If you look at my fancy flowchart, you can easily follow along. We start off in Warcraft 3 on the left with the Abomination, which was an undead unit. That model was then used in the original Dota 1 as Pudge, which is on the bottom. If you look to the top of the flowchart, it turns into Stitches, which was a model used in WoW, and it was an elite mob that roamed around one of the zones. That version of the Abomination then turned into Stitches in Heroes of the Storm. Back down on the bottom, we can see Pudge from Dota 1 evolves into Pudge from Dota 2. These are how the two are related, but also very different. Some Heroes of the Storm heroes have very strange and potentially hard to balance mechanics, such as Abathur and Murky. These can be similar to gimmicky heroes in Dota 2, like Techies or Meepo. As of right now, I do not feel that these heroes are balanced, but it will just take more time and more heroes to really let us balance all these heroes out. Mechanics. In Heroes of the Storm, there is no gold and no items. However, we'll talk about how those are replaced in future sections. Games usually last about 20 minutes. I've had games last from as short as 10 minutes to upwards of 40 minutes, but usually 20 minutes is 90% of your games. There are 5 different maps in Heroes of the Storm, all focusing on different objectives and allowing varied gameplay throughout. Experience in Heroes of the Storm is global, so that means any experience that anyone on your team earns will be shared throughout your whole team. This means that it's often more of a team effort and there's less individual standout play. This can be both considered a positive and a negative depending on how you view the games. If you like to play more as an individual, you will really see this as a negative, but if you like the teamwork aspect of these games, you can see it as a positive. The only true downside to this global experience system is that one team will get all of their ultimates across the board before anyone on the other team gets their ultimates. This will give them a huge advantage in the coming team fight and can often swing the game in your favor. The final mechanic I want to talk about are mounts. There are no teleportation scrolls in Heroes of the Storm. There is a back button which you can hit and back in about 5 seconds. However, to get around the map, you can simply mount up by hitting Z, and you will have an increased move speed to get around quickly to help your allies out if they're being ganked, or to get to various objectives. These mounts may look goofy, but they really fit into the game and they fit into the art and style of this game. Without mounts, the pace of gameplay would be very slowed down and draw out matches unnecessarily long. Abilities and items. As I said before, there are no items in Heroes of the Storm. However, your abilities can be made more unique through their leveling system. You get traits while leveling up to hone your skills and build your character a certain way each game. So as long as you're leveling up with your team, you will continue to progress and you don't have to worry about things like last hitting and money management. Abilities in Dota 2 are meant to have a big impact on the game when they're cast. Heroes of the Storm slightly tones this down with your basic skills, however ultimates can still have huge impacts, depending on who you play. In Dota 2, items do make your characters more able to fill a variety of roles, but the talent tree-like system will still allow you to adjust your gameplay to fit your needs, however not to the same extreme as in Dota. Since there are no items, there's obviously no wards. The maps in Heroes of the Storm are relatively small. This can place serious importance on vision-granting abilities and capturing watchtowers, which function similar to wards. Laning. There is a very short laning phase in almost all games of Heroes of the Storm. Lane composition can matter very little because your time in lane is so short. The only time it usually does matter is if you're going up against a pushing lineup and you need to defend or you yourselves are pushing. This is where towers and ammo can come into play. Towers will only aggro to you if you are the last remaining target or if you attack a hero within their range. Towers also have ammo. Once they run out of ammo, they will not attack until it is replenished. Towers also show you range, making it easier to dodge the towers, and in between the towers, there is a wall that must be broken before your creeps or you can proceed further into the enemy territory. This, of course, can be avoided by certain blink, dash, or leap abilities. Jungle. Heroes of the Storm does have a jungle. However, it's very different from the one you might see in Dota 2. Each camp is on an independent timer. Killing these camps does not yield you gold, as there are no items to purchase, but they do give a sizable amount of experience, and the camp that you kill and claim will come and fight for your team. Heroes of the Storm players refer to these jungle camps as Mercenaries. There is usually not a dedicated jungler or mercenary player. Instead, these objectives are taken when the other team is dead or out of position to defend it. Metagame. Since the alpha places you blindly with teammates, it is hard to determine the current metagame. However, there are certain heroes that stick out as very powerful. Coming to mind are Stitches and Sergeant Hammer. However, these are just personal opinions, as it is hard to truly determine the meta at this stage in a closed alpha. The meta on certain maps is shifting away from objectives in favor of mercenary camps, and Blizzard should work to balance this. Pro scene. There is an emerging pro scene for Heroes. However, I've been unable to find too much information about it. Personally, I do not feel this game will have a sustainable pro scene. There are two main factors that I think will contribute to this. The first factor being that this game has a relatively lower skill ceiling than games like Dota 2. Also, currently, there are two major games that have this esports market cornered. Unless a major shift happens, this game is going to remain fun and casual only. Final thoughts. Heroes of the Storm is a fun game. That's really what it comes down to. This game is fun to play. The goofy skins and mounts fit into this game because it's casual and fun. I do not think this game in its current state, or likely in the future, will be competitively viable due to its mechanics and lower skill ceiling. It is a great game when you want to play something else and have a laugh with some friends, or just don't have the time to play a longer game. I would recommend all Dota players check it out when they get a chance and just want to have some fun. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this comparison between Dota 2 and Heroes of the Storm from a Dota 2 player's perspective. If you liked it, like it, and subscribe for more. Thanks.